morning, America. It's Friday.
Jonathan Mark, Fridays at 8, here on AM 1480 WLEA. And here we go. Yes, sir, Mr. Paul Harvey. It is Friday, right where we left it last week, after Thursday and before Saturday. Friday, always the best time of year, no matter when it occurs. And this week it occurs on April 12th. The time of year when the weather undergoes sort of a grinding of gears and identity crisis, so to speak. It's not quite sure if it's the end of winter or maybe the beginning of spring. It's not quite sure. So toward the beginning of the week, we had temperatures in the low 70s. Boy, that was nice. And then a few days later, I noticed some snow flurries on Wednesday and then some snow flurries yesterday morning. So, in the upper Midwest, however, there is no question lots of snow. It's another, that's right, bomb cyclone. Another triumph of over-the-top marketing to get people all discombobulated and be very afraid. Interesting. Bomb cyclone has a nice apocalyptic ring to it. Sounds much more exciting than, let's say, a heavy snowstorm. And I heard a soundbite yesterday of a guy in either, I think it was Minnesota or Wisconsin, who said, gee, we weren't prepared for all this snow. Really? How can you live in the upper Midwest and not be prepared for snow in April? I'm fairly certain it's happened in the past. Of course, I could be wrong. Anyway, this time of year is absolutely gorgeous. Time to polish up the garden tools, rake up whatever wound up on your lawn this winter, and time to fire up the lawnmower and see how it's doing. Also at this time of year, which brings me to my first point, bears are out. You know, a black bear? They're coming out of hibernation. And man, are they hungry. I mean, they haven't eaten for months. In fact, they haven't done anything at all for months. They've been hibernating, sleeping. Sort of reminds me of an uncle of mine a long time ago. Anyway, black bear's heart will slow to 8 beats a minute during hibernation. I know that only because I looked it up and I cheated. Anyway, the DEC reminds people that bears are out, and it would be a very good idea to keep garbage cans covered. Don't leave any pet food outside, especially people who own dogs and they keep them outside. If you do any grilling, make sure you clean up your grill and cover it up and all that. So, bears are out. They're curious and they're hungry. Which brings me to what happened to me a few years ago, in April as a matter of fact. As you know, we live on Main Street in greater metropolitan Almond, that bustling hub of industry and commerce. And the Almond River, okay, some people call it the Kankakee Creek, I call it a river. It's all in the marketing, really. Anyway, it runs right through our backyard. And our property extends on the other side of the river. And it's all what you would call a wilderness on the other side, inaccessible, ideal for wildlife. So one day at noon in April a few years ago, I was taking kitchen garbage out and was going to put it in the garbage can in the back of the house. So I go out the side door, I make a right, walk about 30 feet, and make another right down an alley between the house and the garage. And the garbage can is about 25 feet down the alley. And as I got to the end, I don't know what it was that caught my attention. I think it was a smell. Yeah, I'm pretty sure now it was a smell, but it got my attention because I took one more step to see down the side of the garage, and there was a black bear, not 10 feet from me. I know because later on I measured it. So, there I am, and there's the black bear. Now, I am, for all intents and purposes, holding Mr. Bear's lunch in front of me. I have kitchen garbage in a plastic bag in front of me, and there's this bear not 10 feet away. So I figured, well, let me see. What do I know about bears? Okay, yeah. I know they have big claws. I know they have teeth. I know they're big. But what do I do about this bear in front of me as I am holding his lunch? So I figured, let me see, how am I going to handle this? Now the bear is on all fours, and even on all fours, it was pretty big. Certainly outweighed me a lot. So I said, well, how about maybe I take a step back, very slowly and very cautiously and see if this thing goes the way I think and hope it's going to go. So I took a step back. And the bear, who was on all fours, kind of shuffled back a little bit. And I figured, okay, so far it's going just pretty much the way I hoped it would go. So let me see. Let me take one more step back very slowly. And I could see down the alley off to my left. So if I could take one more step back, I'll have a straight shot down this alley. Now, I know you shouldn't run. Running would probably not be a good idea because it would just encourage the bear to do something. So I take one more step back, and the bear stood up. Bears can walk on their hind legs. But it wasn't in a threatening manner. Not really, I don't think. Could they lunge just on their hind legs? I have no idea. So I take a step back very, very slowly, and the bear stands up. And at that point, I figure, let me see, a bear can outrun a human being. He's hungry. I'm holding his lunch. I'm making a delivery here. How about I just drop the bag? I dropped the bag on the ground. Dropped the bag on the ground, and I went from 0 to 85 miles an hour in 1 second. I mean, I didn't think it was possible. But I hit 85 in no time flat. I made a left-hand turn down the end of the alley to go toward the side door. And I think I took that corner on 2 wheels. I mean, I just flew around that corner. I said, I don't know if the bear is in back of me. I have no idea. I suppose I should find out any split second now. So I headed for the back door, or the side door. And I didn't even look behind me. I didn't know. And I don't remember opening the side door. I sort of materialized right through it. Okay? So I find myself in the entrance room, not remembering if I opened the door or closed it. And I figured, okay, the lunch is out there. I'm here in one piece, and I have no idea where the bear is. So once I could see straight, and my heart dropped down from like 500 beats a minute, I looked out the back window in the kitchen. And I could see where I was and the bear was. No, the bear is not there. I'm here. I'm still in one piece. And I'm looking and looking. I couldn't really see if the lunch was still there on the ground. So about an hour later, I said, well, let me just take a peek out the door here. No, I don't see the bear. No, I don't see him out the kitchen window. Let's just see what's going on. So I went out the side door, went down the side of the house, down the alley, and let me emphasize, very cautiously looked around a corner. I mean, it was about as cautious as a human being could possibly be. No, and the bear wasn't there. And his lunch was still on the ground. So what I figure is that he said, this is way too much trouble. These people are crazy. So I guess he must have turned around, or he or she, I have no idea. I'm calling him he. I don't know. Not being a bearologist, I have no idea. So I guess it just turned around and went down the bank and across the river, and off it went because the bamboo was totally flattened. So clearly that's where it came up, and pretty clearly that's where it went down. And even though that was several years ago, I'm telling you, every single time I look out that kitchen window, I say that's where the bear was. That's where I was years ago, but it's still fresh. So the point is that bears are out there, okay? So just be very careful, cover up your garbage, and if you go around a corner holding kitchen garbage, be very, very careful. So that was my one and only encounter with a bear. And I certainly hope it's the only encounter I ever had. I had no idea that bears smelled so bad. But then you figure they've been sleeping all winter. They haven't done anything. They haven't brushed their teeth. I mean, they really stink. I had no idea. It was amazing. It was a beautiful animal.
I think I know why the bear didn't eat the lunch.
Okay, why?
Iophobia.
Who?
Iophobia, fear of being poisoned.
Okay, that's a possibility. Or maybe
he took one look at you and said, I ain't eating this.
Yeah, okay, that's a possibility too. Or maybe he didn't. I think there were probably chicken bones, shrimp, maybe a little bacon fat or something. You'd think a bear would like that, but I guess not. Maybe
Vegetarian bear, that's it.
a vegetarian bear. I think they eat roots and berries and people occasionally. I'm not quite sure. Anyway, so that was my that was my one encounter with a bear, which I certainly hope is enough. And speaking of wildlife, this was 2 summers ago, and this is kind of weird too. You know, you'd think the greater metropolitan Almond would be zoned against wildlife, but I guess it isn't. Because my wife and I are sitting on the side steps early in the morning around 6 o'clock or so, and we're drinking coffee, and this was an absolutely gorgeous day. I think it was in June or something. And about 6 o'clock, beautiful morning, gorgeous sky, perfectly blue. It was absolutely wonderful. And here comes our resident Mr. Skunk across the backyard. Now, this skunk has been there for a long time. And they're nocturnal animals, so you wouldn't see them at 6 o'clock in the morning. But anyway, there he was. So first came a skunk through the backyard. And then came a herd of deer. And I don't mean like 4 or 5 deer. I'm talking like a dozen deer came up from the riverbank and wound up in the backyard. So, gee, a dozen deer at once, that's kind of a lot. So then they wandered off into our neighbor's yard, and off they went. And then came a fox. Not a couple of minutes later, this fox comes shooting across our yard into our neighbor's yard. And there's a fox. Then, not 10 minutes later, this was weird. About 10 minutes later, 2 coyote. Now, I've never seen a coyote in Almond, but there were 2 coyote came up from the river through the brush and all that, and they went shooting across I had no idea that the coyote are that fast, but they are really, really fast animals. So they went through the backyard, and then a little while later, a bunch of bunnies, rabbits, came hopping through the brush into our neighbor's yard. So all of a sudden I had this feeling that we were in the middle of a Walt Disney movie or something. It was kind of weird, all these animals all at once. So we have an acquaintance. And that evening we told her what happened with the fox and the bunnies and the coyote and the skunk and the whole thing. And she said, "Oh, that's very interesting. That's very, very interesting." I said, "Yeah, it's mildly interesting. Yeah, it's okay. It's all right." So the next day she comes over and she says, "I called a psychic last night." And I said, "You did?" She said, "Oh, yes. So I called a psychic and I told her what happened to you." I said, "Yeah?" And she said, "Well, she said that you guys were in a vortex." I'm not making this up. This lady, trust me, you cannot make this lady up. And she said that you were in a vortex. And I'm thinking, well, somebody was in a vortex, but I don't think it was us. So anyway, she has since moved out to the left coast, like somewhere where she probably belongs. And so that was the story of her vortex with the little animals. It was so strange. All these animals all at once. I don't think it was a vortex. It was just, who knows?
Speaking of the vortex.
Yes.
You know who's on the line waiting to talk to you?
Oh, Mr. Vortex. That's right. Okay, we'll be back.
From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Eddie Garcia.
In golf, the second round of the Masters will get underway this morning with a pair of leaders. Brooks Koepka and Bryson DeChambeau are your co-leaders at 6 under par, holding a one-stroke lead over Phil Mickelson. Koepka did not have a bogey on day 1. DeChambeau birdied 6 of the final 7 holes. As for Tiger Woods, he will start day 2, 4 shots back after an opening round 70. In the NHL, day 2 of the Stanley Cup playoffs featured 3 series opening games last night. Maple Leafs beat the Bruins in Boston 4-3 behind a pair of Mitch Marner goals. One of them was on a penalty shot. The Capitals beat the Hurricanes 4-2. The defending Stanley Cup champs win behind a pair of Nicholas Backstrom goals. And the Flames shut out the Avalanche 4-0. Calgary goalie Mike Smith had 26 saves in the shutout. Teammate Matthew Tkachuk had 2 goals. In baseball games of note, the Mariners beat the Royals 7-6 in 10 innings. Seattle is now 13-2 on the year, best record in the major leagues, while Kansas City has lost 10 in a row. Padres beat the Diamondbacks 7-6. San Diego's on top of the NL West and leads the National League with 9 wins.
And we have Rob Carolyn on the line. We're back. Hello, Rob.
Good morning, Jonathan.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Where are you?
I've got vortex music.
That's Vortex
Is
music.
that the Wizard of Oz?
Very good, Brian.
Oh, wow. Very
Is
good,
that the
Brian.
Wicked Witch
Brian.
music?
You are correct. Yeah,
Miss Gulch on the
Vortex, come
bicycle?
on. Exactly. Very good. See,
It's-
he knows his stuff.
It's another Vortex morning all around. Well, I tell you,
Exactly.
Rob, we have had absolutely beautiful weather here this week. A little chilly the last day or two. We've had a couple of snow flurries, but all in all, it's been pretty good.
It has been. And yesterday, those snow flurries and showers we saw in the morning, Brian, were a sign of, Brian and Jonathan, were a sign of warmer weather coming in aloft. That warmer weather has moved in this morning. Temperatures across the southern tier are generally between 50 and 55. We've got a southerly flow. It's all around that vortex in the upper Midwest that produced blizzard conditions last night across Minnesota, the Dakotas, still producing blizzard conditions out there. That system will go by us to the northwest this weekend. Another vortex will be coming up from Texas over the weekend, and that will lead to rain across the region for Sunday. Now, today, a lot of cloudiness out there. We've got some thin spots in the overcast right now, leading to a little bit of sun, but the clouds will thicken up as the day goes on. It'll be windy with the chance of some rain later this afternoon. We're near 70. Sunrise this morning was at 6:33. It'll set tonight at 7:49. Now we'll look for the rain to end with the first system during the evening. It turns partly cloudy overnight, 45 to 50. Get out, enjoy tomorrow. It is the better of the 2 weekend days. No vortex. We have an anti-cyclone headed our way. We're partly sunny, breezy, 65 to 70. Clouds, showers tomorrow night, lows 35 to 40. And then Sunday, that's the second storm system. A vortex passing to our southeast. Rain Sunday, highs will be 50 to 55, Jonathan.
Right. Oh, and anti-cyclone, bomb cyclones, polar vortexes. I can't stand it.
See, now you know all the stuff I studied when I was in college.
Jeez. Okay, well, spring is coming. It will be here at some point, and it'll really be spring. You'll be out mowing the lawn and you're planting. You know, this week we bought 87.5 gallons of potting mix.
Wow, 87 and a half. Huh?
87.5 gallons of potting mix. We have a lot of flowers.
I
And
was going to say I felt a lot in the basement right now.
of course, my wife is going to do it all. It's not going to be me, but I will
that's
supervise
nice.
her. So it should work out. Okay. It's good exercise for her. Okay, Rob. Thanks. We'll see you next week.
Have a good weekend.
From the Fox Business Network, Tesla is no longer selling its most affordable Model 3 car online. The $35,000 car will still be available to order by phone and in its stores. Tesla's sales slipped at the start of this year as the government began to phase out incentives for electric cars. Walt Disney says its new streaming service will cost $6.99 a month or $69.99 a year. Disney Plus will launch in November. Rite Aid says it will no longer sell e-cigarettes and vaping products because it's concerned about children using them. Those products will be removed from stores within the next 90 days. Rite Aid will continue to sell cigarettes. The Dow was down 14 yesterday, the Nasdaq dropped 16, and the S&P was flat. With the Fox Business Report, I'm Ginny Cosola.
Prescription products require an online physician consultation and are only available if the physician determines a prescription is appropriate. See website for full details.
Hey guys, good news! The expensive Little Blue pill is now generic, which means you can get the prescription medication to treat ED at affordable prices. And now get your first month's supply for just $5 at 4hims.com/Chris. Hims connects you with real doctors online who can prescribe the medication, and a pharmacy sends it right to your door. So easy. To get your first order for just $5, you need to go to 4hims.com/Chris. That's 4hims.com/Chris.
And we are back. Yes, sir. Have you heard of this harebrained scheme to tax golf courses? It's called the golf tax. Now, golf courses are pay property taxes anyway. But this legislation is sponsored by two downstate Democrats, Senator David Carlucci of Rockland County and Assemblywoman Sandra Galliff of Westchester County. The idea being that localities would be allowed to assess golf course properties based on their, quote, highest and best use rather than their current use, which of course is a golf course. In other words, the courses will be valued based on the possibility that the course may be located in a prime real estate area where developers would be willing to pay a premium price in the future. So what they're saying is, let's say that in some parallel universe, a golf course was not a golf course. Let's pretend it was a housing tract, or a shopping center, or condominiums. Let's assess it, they say, based on that. That's totally weird. I mean, a golf course is a golf course. State Senator Tom O'Mara of Big Flats is seriously against the idea. He calls it a triple bogey on the Democrat scorecard. He says the scheme could lead to higher greens fees and other expenses for golfers as well as the course owners. O'Mara says New York's golf industry generates an annual economic output of $5.3 billion and accounts for an estimated 60,000 jobs. And some of those workers might have to be laid off. You know, there are 818 golf courses in New York State. And as of 2011, I don't have the figures in front of me, but I think it was an estimated 1.6 million people play golf in New York State. So it's a major economic factor. Recreational marijuana use has not yet been approved in Albany. But I have the sneaking feeling that some lawmakers have already, let's say, tested the water, so to speak. I can imagine them sitting in a room, getting toked up. Oh, wow, I have an idea. How about we tax golf courses? Oh, dude, that's cool. Even better, how about we tax it based on something that may never happen? Wow, I should have thought of that myself. Whoa! You know, I would not be surprised if one day Albany comes up with a breath tax based on the number of times you breathe. You'd be issued a state-mandated breath meter, and it would register 1 click every time you breathe. And those who breathe more would be taxed more. So I guess it would be best if you walked around holding your breath as often as possible. Of course, then, those who held their breath too much would be fined for evading the breath tax. And in Albany, for some people, that would make perfectly good sense. I don't know, it's just my idea. I hope, yikes. I hope they were listening. Who knows? Okay, if this happens, it wasn't my fault. This was just pure speculation. Okay, I hear the sounder, and I guess it's time we go. Okay, see you next week. Bye.